Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Book HQ. I've been terrible. I haven't been around for a couple of weeks, but that's because I've been on vacation and now I'm back. And I am coming to you with another review. Today the review is The Sun is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. So first we had Maddie and Ollie, and now we have Tasha and Daniel. Very interesting book. It mainly revolves around Natasha and Daniel. Now Natasha is an undocumented immigrant from Jamaica, and she's 17, and Daniel is a first-generation American. His parents are from South Korea. And so the book really talks a lot about those two different situations of being an undocumented immigrant and feeling like the country doesn't want you, but then also looks at sort of living in two worlds when you are first generation American and you have sort of those two cultures. So it's a lot to do with identity, and it's also a beautiful romance story of Tasha and Daniel. It takes place in the course of one day in New York City. The romance is so compelling. They fall in love in one day, and it's sort of the day that she's trying to do something about being deported, because she and her family are being deported that night. Their flight is at 10 p.m. and Daniel has a very big day ahead of him because he is going for an entrance interview for Yale, and he's meant to become a doctor. So their paths cross, and then they pretty much stay together all day, and then they separate. And so then there's this glimmer of hope for Natasha, because she goes to the immigration office and she sort of has a meltdown, and the man who she has a meltdown in front of gives her a phone number for a lawyer who he thinks can help her. And it turns out that the lawyer can help her, except that the lawyer has a near-death experience and then spends the rest of the day on some carpe diem trip where he decides that he's gonna profess his undying love for his secretary, despite the fact that he's married and has 2 children, and ends up not going for the appointment at the judge to try and get their deportation on that very day sort of repealed or delayed. So he doesn't do that, and then Tasha ends up having to be deported. And it's just heartbreaking because it turns out that the person that Daniel's supposed to have the interview with for Yale is the same lawyer. So he actually gets the news first about the deportation still standing, and then he has to be the one to break it to Natasha. And I'm reading it and I'm like, Daniel's heart is breaking, Tasha's heart is breaking, my heart is breaking. I am so upset with the lawyer, because like, what is that? You provide hope and then it's your fault anyway that they end up being deported. I was so upset. He's like the villain in the book. But the book also looks at the difference between Daniel and his older brother Charlie. And Charlie is he's, you know, just like Daniel, first generation American, but he really is trying to assimilate so much that he completely denies the Korean part of him. Like, he doesn't speak Korean, and he doesn't date Koreans at all. Like, he's just like trying to distance himself as far as possible from his heritage. And he kind of hates Daniel because Daniel is very comfortable with being ethnically Korean. And you know, it's very interesting to see again the difference in identity, identifying with like who he is in that environment. I thought it was a really, really good book. I've read it twice. I'm probably gonna read it a 3rd time, and I obviously am super excited for the movie coming out. I'm hoping this year. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but I do know that Yara Shahidi has been cast to play Natasha. That's basically the book by Nicola Yoon. Go and read it. It's super, super interesting. You know, she writes really well. She talks or touches on a lot of really contemporary issues. And of course, her romances between these young people are super compelling. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. And as always, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, keep reading and keep watching. Bye-bye.